The Kepler mining colony had been silent for 47 standard days. Admiral Chen Nakamura stood before the holographic display in the command center of the UES Retribution, watching the tactical readout with practiced patience. The colony's distress beacon had stopped transmitting weeks ago, and long-range scans showed no life signs. On the surface of Kepler 442b, the Galactic Council had already written off the 17,000 colonists as casualties of the ongoing Vraktar expansion. Acceptable losses, they had called it in their sterile chambers on Citadel Prime. The colony was too far from strategic jump routes to justify a rescue operation. The galaxy had forgotten them, but Earth remembered. "Drop pods ready for deployment, Admiral," reported Commander Sarah Torres from the tactical station. Her voice carried the same grim determination that had defined humanity's military for the past century. Ever since they'd learned that in the cold mathematics of galactic politics, human lives rarely factored into the equations. Nakamura nodded, his weathered face reflecting years of similar operations. The Galactic Council's member species, the ethereal Ashanti, the logic-driven collective, the proud warrior Kethvar, all possessed advanced technologies and vast fleets. But none of them had what humanity brought to the table, the absolute refusal to leave their own behind. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "Begin orbital bombardment of Vraktar positions. Target their communication arrays first." The Retribution and her sister ships opened fire, their rail cannons painting streaks of light across Kepler's purple sky. The Vraktar had established their characteristic black spires across the colony's settlements, towering structures that served as both fortifications and processing centers for their harvest operations. The aliens didn't just conquer worlds, they strip-mined entire populations, converting sentient beings into bioenergy to fuel their expansion. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Webb felt the familiar tension in his stomach as his drop pod shuddered in its launch tube. Around him, the 47th Orbital Assault Battalion prepared for another impossible mission. They called themselves the Lost and Found, specialists in recovering what the galaxy had written off as irretrievable. "Listen up, devils." Webb's voice crackled through the comm system to his battalion. "Intel suggests most colonists are being held in the central processing facility. Standard Vraktar tactics. They'll use human shields, poison gas, and every dirty trick in their arsenal. But here's what they forgot about humans. We don't negotiate with kidnappers." The drop pods launched in synchronized waves, 500 metal coffins screaming through atmosphere toward the surface. Webb watched through his pod's viewport as the colony grew larger. What had once been New Birmingham, a thriving agricultural settlement, now crawled with Vraktar biomechanical constructs in their characteristic purple energy webs. The first pods impacted the surface like meteors, their occupants rolling out in powered exoskeletons that made each soldier a one-person siege engine. Webb's pod struck the main plaza, and he emerged to find himself surrounded by the twisted remains of what had been a children's playground. Vraktar warriors, insectoid creatures standing 8 feet tall with razor-sharp limbs, swarmed toward the landing zones. "Contact front!" Sergeant Riley Matthews shouted over the comm, her plasma rifle already carving through alien chitin. The 47th had trained for this scenario countless times. While other species might deploy massive armies or sophisticated AI, humans had perfected the art of small unit tactics and individual initiative. Webb led Alpha Company toward the processing facility, a nightmarish tower of black metal that pulsed with captured life energy. The Vraktar had learned to fear human boarding actions. In conventional space battles, humanity's ships were outgunned and outnumbered. But when it came to close-quarters combat, to fighting in corridors and ruins, to the kind of desperate warfare that decided the fate of individuals rather than star systems, humans had no equal. "Sir, we've got movement in the facility," reported Corporal Kim Park, her scanner detecting faint human life signs. 1,700 survivors, maybe more. They're weak but alive." The assault through the processing facility became a running battle through corridors lined with harvest pods, crystalline chambers where Vraktar stored their victims during the conversion process. Webb's team moved with practiced efficiency, each soldier covering their teammates while advancing through the alien structure. They had learned these tactics fighting for colonies the Council deemed strategically insignificant, for mining stations too remote to defend, for research outposts of minimal strategic value. and the galaxy saw numbers and resources. Humans saw faces and families. In the facility's core, they found what remained of the colonists, emaciated but alive, their life force slowly being drained to power Vraktar technology. The rescue operation became a meticulous extraction, with each soldier carrying multiple civilians through hostile territory back to the landing zones. As the evacuation proceeded, Vraktar reinforcements arrived from their fleet in orbit. The aliens brought overwhelming firepower, advanced shields, and numerical superiority. By every tactical analysis, the human force should have been annihilated. But the 47th Orbital Assault Battalion had something the Vraktar couldn't quantify: the knowledge that every life they saved justified every risk they took. While other species calculated acceptable losses, humans calculated acceptable costs, and they were willing to pay almost any price to bring their people home. The final extraction took 18 hours of continuous combat. When the last transport lifted off from Kepler 442b's surface, it carried 16,847 survivors, nearly the entire colony population. The rescue had cost humanity 3 ships and 200 soldiers, losses that would have given any other species pause. Admiral Nakamura received the casualty reports without flinching. In the cold calculus of interstellar warfare, the operation was strategically questionable. But in the moral mathematics that defined humanity's place in the galaxy, it was a resounding victory. Later, as the rescue fleet jumped back toward Earth space, Commander Torres found Nakamura studying the tactical recordings. "The Galactic Council is calling it a waste of resources," she reported. Nakamura smiled grimly. "Let them. The galaxy might forget its people, but Earth never will, and our soldiers will keep falling from the sky wherever humans need saving. The rescued colonists would rebuild their lives, the dead would be honored, and somewhere else in the galaxy, another human settlement would face impossible odds against alien conquest. When that happened, drop pods would launch again, and the lost and found would remind the universe that humanity never left anyone behind. The galaxy had forgotten them, but Earth remembered, and that made all the difference.